Don't call it a comeback.
I've been here for years, rocking my fears and putting creatures in beers. I don't know the line.
Hey, Devon, that's a cool animation. I don't think I've ever seen that animation before.
No?
I should tell people we're live on Twitter. Did you tell people we're live
Yeah.
on Twitter?
It should have.
Twit face.
It should have.
It says we're back again. Join us as we continue our journey through divinity.
Come on, I changed that crap. That's some bull crap. I changed that.
Nice.
I changed that crap.
Oh my gosh. You had one job, Devon.
That was the first thing I changed before we even got started.
You had one.
Oh, that makes me laugh so hard when that does to you.
Freaking restream. That's the first thing I changed.
Sure.
I mean, it changed the name of the stream because I named it Anthem and Beyond.
Sure.
Stupid thing.
Yep.
I'm sure JD's saying something super funny right now. We just don't know.
That's our internet hard at work.
I'll just end the stream. It's over. No.
all your base are belong to us.
Shut it down. Are we live now?
Yeah, we've been live this whole conversation.
Awesome. Here we go.
And we are not playing Divinity.
Welcome to the weekly episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast. Your host, Steven, and co-hosts Mike, Devon, and JD are all set. Join us and tweet your questions at Freelancer Codex. Find us on Facebook at Freelancer Codex, or send emails to freelancercodex@gmail.com. Strap into your javelins, and let's drop in.
Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of the Freelancer Codex podcast, where we learn a couple lessons about ourselves. We dive in deep to our souls and figure out what we're going to be doing, and we have some hard discussions with each other. This is going to be one of those episodes, like in Full House, where DJ learns that you don't steal the spider monkey. You don't steal the spider monkey.
You don't steal the spider monkey.
Spider monkey.
All right. So this is episode 115 of the Freelancer Codex podcast. And this is something that I have been struggling a lot for this last
You struggle with everything. Like everything is a struggle for you.
I actually don't
we
struggle.
have to hear about it. Let's hear what the next thing is on the planet that is bugging you.
So Michael's bugging me. That would be the next thing on the planet that's actually bugging me. No, but seriously, so after the announcement, we'll talk about the announcement and everything that Casey Hudson finally came out and said, "Hey guys, we're announcing this. This is what's going to happen." And since that announcement, it seems to all the goodwill, I don't even know if it's goodwill. It's really hard for me to like figure out how I'm feeling about this still, because I have a lot of emotions since that thing has come out. So I guess before we get into that, because I really want to talk about it and get your guys' take on it, because I'm really struggling with it.
We can tell.
We're actually pretty close to let's see, in 2 days it'll be February 15th, and that'll be the 1 year anniversary since the
early access
Anthem released on early access premiere. As far as I'm concerned, that was the release of the game. That's everything that we did in that game carried over to the launch of the game. So for us PC players that bought into the early access, that was the launch of the game. So it's going to be a 1 year anniversary coming up for us pretty soon. And it's about 113 days till EA Play, which is when we're speculating that we're going to hear anything about Anthem 2.0. Okay.
2.0.
Okay, so we actually are still sponsored. We have a sponsor. I don't know why people are still sponsoring us, but they do. So, Mike, will you tell us who our sponsor is here? Will you give us a sponsor?
Because people like us, gosh darn it.
Laughlete is a new clothing brand for athletes with a sense of humor. Whether you're a lifelong gym rat or just starting out as a New Year's resolution to get healthy, Laughlete wants you to sport your sense of humor whenever and wherever you exercise. Head on over to Laughlete.com and check out dozens of hilarious designs like their Ben Swallow t-shirt and their Kerm Ripped the Frog tank top. All of their shirts and tanks have been custom fitted and are made from the softest, high-quality cotton poly fabric.
Cotton.
Cauliflower.
I'm going to start
like
that
Dolly
one.
Parton. You should start over.
Never pay for another scratchy unisex shirt that you need sex. Unisex shirt that fits like it was made
Pretty sure
for a
that's not in the ad.
I'm reading. Their shirts and tanks start out at just $19, and they're shipped directly to your door. Laughleet is offering our listeners 20% off their first purchase on anything from laughleet.com. Just use promo code FREELANCER at checkout to get 20% off your purchase. Again, that's laughleet.com. LAUGHLETE.com. Laughleet. Sport your sense of humor.
Very cool. And I hope everyone goes over and checks that out because I actually have one of these things and it's super soft. You can like put it on your face.
Do you have the Ben
you-
Swallow one?
I have the Kerm Ripped the Frog one because the Ben Swallow one makes me uncomfortable when you see Adam Driver without a shirt on because he's got like a weird shaped torso and it makes me feel emotions I didn't know I had.
More information than anybody needed.
This show is going in a
I
different
disagree,
direction.
Devin. I disagree. And Mike, it is really going in a different direction because of the announcement that came out. So I want to dive into this first.
You're just gonna jump right in here, right? You're not gonna.
Murder,
okay.
death, kill. That's what goes on.
Dive right in.
All right. So on the 10th of February, we got a blog update. And this is the first blog update that we had since Chad Robertson spoke to us back in September about getting away from the roadmap that they had. And so this is the first communication at all that we've really had from the team since September. Okay. So this is from Casey Hudson. Casey Hudson is the general manager of BioWare currently. So he's the top of the food chain. The buck stops here. 1 year ago, we were preparing to launch Anthem, a game that represented a big leap into new territory for us as a studio. It was an exhilarating and terrifying experience to go out to the world with something new and different. We are grateful to all the players who have come along with us on the journey. It has been a thrill to us to see the creativity of our players in designing customized javelins and watching them master Anthem's flying and fighting gameplay. So even Casey Hudson is out there trying to master flight, right? Trying to find the water that
Find that
might
water.
take 20 minutes to find water, but Casey's out there mastering flight. We mastered flight before mastering flight was cool. We'll just throw that out there. So I'm so proud of the work the team has put into the game. And at the same time, there's so much more that we and you would have wanted from it. Over the last year, the team has worked hard to improve stability, performance, and general quality of life while delivering 3 seasons of new content and features. We have also heard your feedback that Anthem needs a more satisfying loot experience and better long-term progression and more fulfilling endgame. So we recognize that there's still more fundamental work to be done to bring out the full potential of the experience, and it will require a more substantial reinvention than any update or expansion. Over the coming months, we will be focusing on a long-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in a vast science fantasy setting. And to do that properly, we will be doing something we'd like to have done more of the first time around, giving a focused team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. In the meantime, we will continue to run the current version of Anthem, but move away from full seasons as the team works towards the future of Anthem. We'll keep the game going with events, store refreshes, and revisiting past seasonal and Cataclysm content, starting with our anniversary towards the end of the month. Creating new worlds is central to our studio mission, but it is not easy. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we miss. What keeps us going is the support from players like you. Your feedback gives us guidance on how we can improve, and your passion inspires us with the courage to create. I look forward to working together with your involvement and feedback towards the best possible future of Anthem. Casey Hudson. There's a lot to unpack here.
So much to unpack. So much stuff to talk about.
I don't think this thing comes as a surprise to us. We've been talking about them going into 2.0 development for a long time now. You could easily read it in between the lines with Chad's updates. You could see that, as much as they have gone in and fixed bugs, given us some quality of life things, being able to fast travel. They never worked on the progression. They never gave us any update to the end game. They never gave us updates to the loot, which I think is probably the most important part of a looter shooter. And Casey pointing that out and saying, "Hey, we know that this is the problem and we're working on this." Like, I'm glad that they recognize that.
Are you thinking it's a case of too little, too late?
I struggle with this, so I'm going to voice a lot of what I'm thinking, and I hope you guys do as well. So 23 days or 32 days after the launch of Anthem, Casey put out a blog update that said, "We also continue to listen to your feedback with more improvements to endgame loot and progression, game flow, and stability and performance coming soon." So that's something that we heard 32 days after the launch of the game, and we never saw that. When we went into the show, we saw improvements to performance. We saw, other quality of life stuff, but we never saw improvements to the end game loot or progression or game flow. That stuff stayed the same. That was 32 days after the launch of the game. Those are like arguably some of the most important things that you can do in a looter shooter to keep players engaged. And none of that happened. Elysian Chest didn't do it. New Strongholds didn't do it. They added content, but it never solved those problems, or it never even addressed a lot of those problems. So for them to say, "Hey, we're still trying to do this," like, I get that, but when you go into a show don't tell mentality that we had heard about from Cataclysm, but you're neither showing us what you're doing in that space and you're neither telling us what you're doing in that space, until it's just like, "Well, we're going to work on it." I mean, we can speculate when 2.0 comes out. That is probably not going to be towards the end of this year or maybe even sometime next year. That kind of frustrates me as a player. Like, it's almost better that we didn't know that this was going to happen so that we could speculate that, hey, maybe something else in 1.0 will still happen while they're building 2.0. Maybe there will be more events. Maybe we will get more items, more components, more gear pieces. But knowing that none of that's going to happen, but in the meantime, we'll continue to run the current version of Anthem, but move away from seasons as the team works towards the future of Anthem. We'll keep the game going with events. I'm guessing this is going to be like, the 4 Titans we went out to hunt. It's going to be the Outlaw Outbreak, whatever it was called, where you could go and track down these named bosses and go get a decal or get a graphic.
Right.
But other than that, they mentioned, "Hey, we're going to keep the game alive with store refreshes." Store refreshes does not keep your game alive. Like, how is that one of the big bullet points that you say, "Hey guys, we're keeping it alive because we're going to refresh the store"? Like, you don't tell your players, like, these are the 4 main bullet points and one of them is a store refresh. That tells me that you don't have anything for 1.0. That 1.0, I don't know if it's better if you just shut the servers down like they did with Final Fantasy and say, "Hey, we'll be back next year, guys." Because at this point, it's like, then why? What? Where? If not, when?
I mean, that's definitely a tough choice for them to make, right? For me, I think it is kind of better if they did. I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating when you're playing a game and you enjoy playing it, and then they just. I mean, they're supporting it, but bare bones support because they got to push everything to focus, right? Phaedron in chat says, "Wouldn't you rather know than hope for something that would never come?" I think it's good to know. It's good that they finally said, "Hey, we're focusing on this," and that's what I hoped they would say for a long time. But I think I would rather them go the Final Fantasy route and just be like. But I don't know how that goes. I mean, it's been out for a year, and then what? You shut the live service game down. I mean, how do you recover from that? I mean, it's a little different than Final Fantasy. A standalone type game where this is a live service game. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely tough.
Final Fantasy is an MMO, so I mean that's like the perfect example of because right now, like if you are a hardcore player and you're like, man, they're gonna turn it around, they're gonna give us content, there's gonna be updates, there's gonna be new weapons, and they're gonna work towards something to 2.0. And then they say, hey guys, same content. You want another Cataclysm? Boom, another Cataclysm. It's not even saying it's going to be an updated Cataclysm, because at this
No, it's
point
just
we said
reused.
it's not going to be an updated Cataclysm, right? It's not going to be updated strongholds. We can assume that, because if everyone's working on 2.0, why do you allocate manpower to update a stronghold that's just going to be wiped out when 2.0 releases? Like, that's not great
Well,
use of.
I don't think the IP is as strong as Final Fantasy, right? So the IP of Final Fantasy can certainly survive the game coming out not performing well, and then they say, okay, we're gonna shut this down and we're gonna make it better, because there's years and years and years of people playing those games, loving those games, versus Anthem, where it came out the gate in a really bad place. And it's been in that place basically for the whole year. I mean, they've done things, and it's been enjoyable to play, and they've worked really hard. But when they have to go back and redo the very fundamentals, it's very difficult. They're in a difficult place, and I think they're trying to make the best of what they can with this, and obviously put every effort into Anthem 2.0. For me, I think it's also good because I'm not super concerned about, hey, am I going to miss this content right now? I mean, we're still going to check out whatever they bring out. We're still going to talk about that. We are changing how we deliver that, or when we deliver that, I should say. But I think it's good because it also kind of lifts that. I don't know. It's kind of like a lifted weight off of my shoulders, where it's like, oh, I got to play this content. Oh, okay. Now it's not really new content. There's new gear, but other than that, it's just reusing the same old stuff just for people to keep playing the game if they're enjoying it. And I think they're fine with. I mean, obviously they'll see numbers decrease even more than what they are, and they'll know and understand that because they're putting it into that place. And so I think it's there for people that want to enjoy it. It's there for people who pick it up for a couple $, and want to check it out. And it's going to be there for, really just to keep it there until 2.0 comes out. And, like I said, last episode, I don't think it's coming out till next year. I mean, I hope, that's my personal hope, that they spend the time that they really need.
To polish it up.
To really, they really have to hit it out the gate, or it's just going to be a dead IP. It can't survive another bad, basically.
Yeah.
But JD, what's your opinion? Would you rather them shut this down? Because then what do you do until then? You run.
I would rather they shut it down. I'm being completely honest. The whole thing is that, unless they clarify what they mean by revisiting past seasonal content.
87 issues. There he's back.
If they mean that they're going to be adding some, additional stuff to older content and kind of refreshing it, that would be great. But it just sounds like they're just going to be recycling it. And at that point, I really don't see any point in keeping the servers on and running for Anthem, aside from just making the occasional, few dollars from certain players on the featured store. Because regardless, they do make money off of the featured store.
So Moose in the chat says, "Do you guys think that they'll wait for new consoles?" Sorry, JD.
That's all they're.
So Moose in the chat asked, he says, "Do you think they'll wait for new consoles to release 2.0?" Yeah, I'm guessing that with the new SSDs and the new power of the consoles, they're probably going to try to capitalize on that for performance and for load screens. We all know that load screens on consoles were something that's super terrible. So this will be something that'll help them out. So it would be ridiculous if they didn't, especially if it's going to launch at the end of this year. If they say, "Hey, this is not going to be on the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X," so I would put my money that yes, it's going to be in development for the next gen. Right now, I think that's pretty easy to do, especially to put it both on the PlayStation, on the Xbox the current generation of Xbox, and it'll go over to the new generation of Xbox. And hey, if you have the new one, you'll get faster load times, and if you don't, then hey, you'll just have to deal with those load times. So
What if, like I talked about the last time, where if they don't come out, say, till next holiday, right? Holiday 2021, and they're like, oh, this version 2.0 is only on the next gen.
I mean, if it's 2021, then yeah, I could see that. But I mean, that's a really long time away. So Phaedron says, why would you shut it down? You don't have to play it if you don't want to. But for those of us that do, we can still jump in. Do you think it hurts the game by leaving it up? I think so. This is an interesting question, and that's just me personally, Phaedron. Like, I would much rather say, you know what, and because we have just a little bit more investment, because it's like, hey, we've been championing this game and we've been wanting people to play it, and we've been talking about it for so long, to leave it up, and for me personally, to feel like, okay, if the thing is still up and running, like, what do I do? What do I talk about from here on out? Do I talk, hey guys, Season of Skulls is back. It's the same lore. There's no new updates. There's nothing new. We'll see you next time. So, and really, that's like one of my big issues, Phaedron. Like, if I didn't make content for it, and if we didn't have a podcast to talk about it, like, I wouldn't care. I'd be moving on to play other games, and it wouldn't be an issue for me. So this is why it's like a big issue for me now, because you feel like you're obligated. You feel like you have this sense of ownership towards something, to where you do want it to do well. And when it's struggling, like, it sucks. It's like, seeing your kids struggle in school. Like, you want to help them, but sometimes your 10-year-old says, hey, I hate you, Dad, go away. So that's difficult. And you'll know that when your kid's 10, Phaedron. And that'll be sooner than. So from our perspective, it does add an extra layer, because otherwise it's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, see you later. I'm gonna go be playing all these other games that are releasing, because there's a billion. There's so many good games out there to go out and play, right? And you can do that. You can leave Anthem behind if it's like in a spot where it's like, hey, I don't really want to do this, but also, like, you build a community around it, and you don't just want to say, all right, see you guys later. We had a good run, because we made a lot of friends, and we built a community that we have a really fun time hanging out and chatting with people, and we built that around Anthem. So I think it just kind of adds an extra layer of hurt when it's like
Frustration.
all right, and now we got a year of the same stuff. I mean, we ran Cataclysm twice, and that was hard enough the second time, and to be like, all right, and this is what you get. And if you are coming into the game new, like, you probably have a good amount of time to get the fun out of the game, and to get your value out of the game. And you know what? It's, you can go find it for a couple bucks. Let's play this. Let's go have fun, and let's do that. But then if you get invested in it and you try to look towards the, how does this live service game, because it is a live service game, like, where's the service? It's not there. So, I mean, is there a term for a live service game that is no longer being serviced?
It's
just
being serviced through the featured store, right? That's,
dead service.
Everything that we see is all through our own eyes, right? They can have their own vision of what in-game content is. Maybe for them, Cataclysm and that stuff was addressing some of those issues. Maybe it doesn't fit what we as players feel is in-game content, or trying to work towards some of those things. And obviously, it definitely did not, work towards the loot or fix that, because that's just been a constant issue. And for me, it's been more of a regressive than progressive issue, because they'll see things like, oh, there's better drops, more, all these things, and then they just revert it back, or they go into things that help you progress through challenges and different things, and then they nerf them or get rid of them. And it's frustrating, because they keep, instead of leaving things in to help players to keep them coming back, they just take them out. I mean, we don't know how much it breaks their internal system for the game, and how much it doesn't. That's all them, and it's like, either they're just trying to say F you to the players, or they're just. I mean, I don't think they're actually saying that, right? But
we hope not,
tough.
though. I mean, but we're not in the studio. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes and what kinds of things pressure that they're under. But I don't know if there is a right answer to leave the game up, take the game down. I think by telling us what they're doing, they're wanting us to kind of stay the course while they right the ship, and they're, we're going to leave this up. We know that you have fun playing it. It has its flaws, but here you can play this, and they're reassuring us that they're working on this core stuff, but recent, I guess not even recent. I mean, Steve, what was it, 32 days afterwards they were saying, we know that loot is bad, we know that progression is bad, we know the end game is bad. And like you said, I think it really hits home to players that, they said that they were working on that stuff, and it didn't ever seem to get there after a year. So maybe this is a consolation type prize,
No, it's not a
maybe
prize.
they feel like well, but maybe they feel like they're doing a service to us by leaving it up. And you know what? And maybe they're split. Maybe they're split in the studio. Maybe some developers were saying, "No, take that down. Let us work on it." And some had to. Maybe some fought for, leaving it up. I'm not sure. I guess the real point is that from now until 2.0, what are you going to do in Anthem? Are you going to do anything in Anthem? Or what?
I think it's difficult, but I think Moose Nukem in the chat, he has a good point. It's like, for us, for people who've already played it all, it's not a good option, right? It's not a good place to just keep replaying it. Yes, there's some things that are fun and enjoyable to do, but there's nothing in there to really drive us to keep playing. Mm-hmm. But for new players, having this seasonal content return is a good opportunity, and he points it out in the chat, and or they pointed out, and I think that's really the only reason I can see them keeping it up, is because for anybody that happens to try the game out, because it's $3 or whatever, and they're like, oh, let's check this out, and then it's like, oh, there's this content that's coming back, even though for us that have played it already, and that's the kind of position we're coming from because we have played it all already. It's new for people who are just coming in. So on that side, I can perfectly see why they would keep it going, and why they can bring it back, and that's really the only positive spin I could see for that direction. But
yeah,
but that's because we've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in the game. I mean, I can't complain about me spending $60, and I've put almost 500 hours into the game. I mean, that's pennies on the hour,
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, it's tough because we complain about how much we want to do, but we've also burned through all the content repeatedly. So,
but I mean, that's not like a player problem, right? I mean, you could blame the player for playing your game and then running out of things.
No, I don't think that they're blaming the player.
No, and every live service game like Destiny, Division, all these games, MMOs, it's the most, the people, the hardcore people run out of things to do, and they want more to do all the time because they love your game. It's not because I finished this game, now I hate it, now where's all the stuff that I want? It's not coming from a place where, it's like, we want your game to succeed. These are the things we want to see happen. These are the things we want to see change. If we're the player base, like being out there playing it, I mean, and this is, coming from us with our hours. I mean, there's people that have like 15,000 hours in the game, which is insane to me. I mean, they played the game a ton. Maybe not 50,000. Maybe it's like 1,400 or something. But,
like, what?
These are the players that, when you tell them there's nothing else, what do? And like Moose is saying, hey, I'm trying crazy builds right now and soloing strongholds to hold me over. Just trying to squeeze as much out of it as I can. And if you can find the fun, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, go out there, like, find the fun. Find something fun to do in the game. And, and that's fine. Like, we're not telling... I don't want to say, hey, you should not be having fun because of recycling content. Like I've said on the show many times, I'm never going to tell anybody how to feel. This is how I feel personally. And it's really conflicting, right? Because on one hand, it's like, all right, 2.0 got announced. We've been speculating about this for a long time. We know it's going to happen. But then again, it's like, okay, 2.0 is announced. Like, we can speculate on what that's going to be. But then it's like our speculation from a whole year should just carry over to what 2.0 should be, right? All our speculation on loot, endgame, progression. We want all these things in here. I went back to like our old show notes, like episode 1 through 28, talking about the things that we want to see, whether that's skill trees, raids, crossplay. We were talking about crossplay on episode 1. I'm surprised that's still not here. I mean, if crossplay is not here in 2.0, that would be ridiculous, right? I mean, that should be reason enough
extremely
that
epic fail.
people should not buy the game. Like, any game from now here on out that does not have crossplay, we as gamers should boycott. So it's hard. So Phaedra says, what about the anniversary event? That's going to hold you over for months. I don't think
is he being serious though?
Who being serious? Steven? You never know.
Phaedra. No. So Phaedra says, what about the anniversary? I don't think the anniversary event is going to be anything big. I don't even know if it's going to be like content. It could just be like a message or like, hey, we increased drop rates. Happy anniversary. Like, we don't know what that is. I mean,
Codex
that's going to
entry.
be that comes up in what? A week from now? Yeah, so next Saturday is the 22nd. And we don't know anything about it other than there's going to be an anniversary event. Like, that would be something like, I don't know, maybe you would want players to know so that they can reinstall the game and come back to it. But I mean, this is part of their, show don't tell mentality that, I know a lot of people have said like, oh, it's a great mentality, they shouldn't say anything. It's like, F that noise. Like, you should be talking to your players. I mean, if we've been here this long, like saying, hey, here's Anthem, like, go play it, and you just don't even give us like a heads up, like, go install this. Give us a freaking screenshot of what the anniversary event's going to look like to at least, get a little bit of hype. You can share a screenshot, and even put in big bold letters, this screenshot is subject to change. I don't know. If you're too afraid to make promises that people can't keep, like,
if those listening live and those who listen elsewhere, Steve is really passionate about this. He's got some.
You don't have to apologize for me.
I'm not apologizing for you. I'm saying you're getting a little worked up. Bring it down a little bit.
No, I am getting worked up. I mean, like, that's the point, right? I mean, you want players to be invested in your game. You want people to, enjoy the content that you have. Like, if I didn't give any F's about Anthem, like, I think that would be worse, right? Like, if people just didn't care at all.
No, I just.
He just wants you to calm down and drink your water.
I do just want you to take a drink. Calm down, because
all right, Mike.
I mean, what?
Mike can't handle all your passion, right?
Like what? So again, back to my question.
See, that's exactly how I feel. I don't even know what I can say.
You only have the power to control what you can control. If you're gonna solo strongholds with different builds, go for it, right? Okay, you're gonna make of the game what you want it to be. I know we all have these grandiose ideas of what it can and what we think it should be, right? I think that you shouldn't have flight cooldowns or overheats or any of that stuff, right? You should just be able to fly, right? That's the thing that should be there. Iron Man never has to land. I should never have to land, okay?
Iron Man lands all the time. What are you talking about?
When he has to, right? When he has to.
But that you just said he never has to.
No, I said he only lands when he has to. I should be able to fly around Bastion as much as I want without needing to land. Okay,
until you
have
to.
That's one of my things. So what I'm saying is that, and again, the question I asked about 15 minutes ago: what are you gonna do in Anthem from now on? If the answer is nothing, that's okay. But if you're gonna, try to go through with a stock javelin and maybe replay story, if you're gonna really go in and maybe collect all of the collectibles as you're going through the story, like what are you gonna do from now until 2.0? Because
who are you asking?
I'm asking you. I asked you guys
specifically.
I'm asking all three of you.
JD?
I'm asking.
Oh, you want me to tell you right now what I'm gonna do?
Well, yeah. What are you gonna do?
I think
story without any of this legendary story mission stuff. Just let us replay the story missions. That would open us up to so much stuff.
Or you can if you create a new pilot.
Yeah, you have to create a new pilot to be able to do that. And at this point, what else are you gonna do?
I mean, just the same thing we've been doing in Anthem since, trying to take over Coda.
That's right.
Steve,
Yeah, no, I'm in the same boat with you. I think they should shut it down. You got new players coming in who or players that aren't really paying attention like we are to like blog posts and social media and stuff like that. And all they're going to see is a game that like it's really fun, but there's like especially with the what I can only anticipate is going to be continued lack of communication from BioWare. And I get the reasons why, and I do agree with them now. I have changed my mind on the subject. But either way, they're just going to see things like grinding to such a snail pace halt. Like they're not going to see anything new. They're not going to see anything refreshing. Like if we get any new players between now and then, they're going to come in. They're going to see a wasteland until 2.0, and I don't think that's good.
I think that just puts more, for me, I think that puts more emphasis on how much they have to nail 2.0 when it comes out, right? They leave it up, which is fine for me, and they allow people to come in and play if they're having a good time. You know, for me, to answer Mike's question, I'm going to, see what they're going to bring out. I'm probably not going to be playing a ton each month, but I'll probably still play it, jump in every now and then and see what they got. Maybe it definitely won't run the Cataclysm. Unless there's something different. The Cataclysm was good the first time, but I got really burnt out on it because it was, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. It's bad memories. No, but
this is why it's kind of important that they clarify what they mean by revisit past seasonal content. Because if they're going to be just doing it all over again, there's no point. If they are going to change it up and add new things to it, I think it could be there could be some point to it, but
but what do you think is really going to happen though?
They don't want to be in the same place though, right? Where they say, "Hey, we're going to do this," and then it doesn't happen, and then it's just more negativity.
Yep.
When they leave it open, they can do anything, right? They could make stuff and surprise us and change things, or they can just put out the same stuff because it didn't happen. It's kind of like they do dev diaries for the Sea of Thieves, and they do those on a regular basis, or not dev diaries, but dev reports, and they talk about how the difficulties of over-promising and under-delivering, right? If they say, we're going to put all these features in here, and then some of those features keep having issues, so they don't make it into that update. And it becomes difficult for them of how they navigate it. But again, they're so open and have been so open with everything for a long time that I think that's an easier way for them to navigate the problems. And so I don't think them telling us, hey, we're going to really do this, and then if it doesn't happen, it's just a worst case scenario. I think this is like their best case scenario for the situation they're in and what they have to do.
So I think advice going forward, if anybody's listening from Anthem, is that pick a communication style and stick with it. So if Sea of Thieves guys come out and say, this is what we're going to try to do, oh, it didn't work, sorry, we're going to try to make it work better. Yeah. Having that same communication style all through 2.0 is just going to do away with so many problems that are up there, because you have to be consistent. When we started kicking around the show and Steve was telling us all the tips that he got, how do we make this successful? What do we do? Everything he got back was be consistent. Whatever you're going to do, whatever it is, be consistent. If you're going to stand on your head each week, then you have to stand on your head each week. You have to make that a thing. So just be consistent going forward. Let us know. Don't change your communication pattern halfway through and say, oh, live streams haven't been working, so we're going to go to show, not tell. And it hasn't worked. Live streams were fun when they were doing it. Yeah, people couldn't find water, and yeah, Chad got the controller taken from
his hand.
And
it's not easy to talk and play. All right, ask any streamer when they're first starting. It's not easy.
But you know what? If we had an entire year of those live streams, and Chad kept getting the controller taken away from him, it would be a thing. We would go, oh, Chad, that's a thing. I think it's important to be consistent. So going forward, just be consistent with your communication. If you're not going to tell us anything, that's gonna
They've been pretty consistent with
deter
that.
a lot of people.
you know.
Well, yeah, and it's deterring a lot of people from Anthem, isn't it?
Well, that's.
No?
I mean, there's
So-
nothing
and
they can
that's the
do. It's
choice-
until
You're absolutely right, and that's the choice
2.0.
that they could make. If that's how they want to go communicating going forward, then 2.0 is going to take a hit before it's even out.
Yep.
If I hope they understand that that's not working. That
Well, I
what
mean,
don't
it's
tell
something that
isn't
they face.
working.
We've
It is.
probably beat this enough, right? Like we've
So
beat this.
yeah,
enough.
I mean, we
so
can
Steve
beat,
can
we
get
can,
passionate, but you can't. Whatever.
No, you
You can
cannot.
get passionate all you want. So while you guys were talking and this whole conversation and reading chat, I figured out what my main issue is, and it's a personal issue. So when we started this, we said, hey, we're going to keep going. Like, we're not going to stop no matter what happens.
Yep.
Right.
Till the
So
servers shut down.
So we made that commitment to do the show. And I finally hit the point where it's like, I don't want to do the show. So it's like, well, if I'm not having fun doing it, then why do it?
Right.
But I also don't want to pull back on the commitment that we made to do this. So it's like creating this conflict in me that, well, do I just pull my teeth out just because I said I would pull my teeth out? So that's where my main hang up is, right? So it's just I have to get over the fact that,
And that's understandable. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
So this is what we're gonna do. We are gonna take the Codex in a little bit of a different direction. So the Freelancer Codex is going to remain. We're going to continue to record and cover Anthem as new news comes up. We'll dedicate like one podcast a month to focusing on Anthem, but also we're going to branch out into talking about games that we are enjoying at the time, whether it's a new game, whether it's an old game. We're going to cover new things that are coming out. There's a lot of new games that have been announced that are going to be released this year. So we're going to start covering those on the show as well. And we're going to take a lot of feedback from listeners. If you like that we're talking about other games, let us know. If you don't like it, if you would just rather us talk about Anthem and the lack of content that's going to be happening in 1.0 for the next year, please let us know. That's kind of a crappy way of me to say that, right? It's kind of
Little bit.
aggressive.
A little bit.
But let us know, if you like that.
Etiquette,
because really,
Steven. Etiquette.
Like I don't want to shut down the Codex because I enjoy talking about video games with you guys. Sometimes I enjoy it with Mike. But for the most part, I don't want, and I really enjoy our community more than anything. Mike just quit the show. So I've accomplished one of my tasks this show. I made Mike turn off his webcam and just completely. So objective number 1 accomplished. So and we'll be rotating hosts in and out, whether there's something to talk about. I know JD's a massive BioWare guy, so when BioWare stuff is happening with Dragon Age Mass Effect, the new art. Hey, Mike's back.
Hey,
welcome
Mike.
back, Mike. He used to be a guest on the show. He is now back as a permanent host going forward. So
Trial basis.
We're gonna be doing things a little bit different, and hopefully, Mike just rage quit. He did just rage quit, Lupo. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that, hopefully, if there's one thing that we are about video games, it's passionate. And hopefully that's come through as we've talked about Anthem. And I don't want that to die because I really enjoy playing video games. I enjoy talking about video games. I enjoy the development of video games and figuring out and, just speculating on where things are going. So that's something that we're going to keep doing.
Yeah.
And I hope that everyone sticks around while we do that.
I mean, if we didn't enjoy this, we wouldn't get up at 4 a.m. to play games and to talk about it.
Some of us don't get up at 4 a.m.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you could.
It's a 4-player game, all right?
Yeah, I expect you when Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, you will be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So we
JD, get that PC built that can handle it.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
So that's what
It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning for JD, but
Hey, let's do it. I am down. Okay, I will wake up. I will lose sleep.
it's a tough thing to say and another thing to do. All right,
it's true. So one thing that and Kags, he's one of our community members in the Discord, brought this to my attention. So Drew Caperson he's an ex-writer for BioWare. He's worked in games a lot. he put out a little update saying that he's going to be the lead writer on the new studio that a lot of the BioWare devs are leaving to start. Archetype Entertainment over in Austin. Sorry, I've got something in Austin. I'm dying here. So he put out
It's a sensitive moment right now for Steven. He's gonna cry.
Mike, when we start talking about Disneyland, and if you don't get as passionate as I just got talking about Anthem, I will come over to your house and I will punch you right in the pants. All right. So Drew says, I've been in the video game industry for 20 years now. When I started at BioWare, everything was fresh and exciting. It was a dream job. Talented people working together to create epic games like Baldur's Gate, KOTOR, Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. But as we grew and became more successful, things changed. We became more corporate. We were less able to make what we loved, and the teams were pushed to create games based on market research rather than our creative instincts and passions. My dream job became just a job, and I lost the enthusiasm and excitement I once had. But with Archetype, my passion has been rekindled. We feel in the studio, let's say the feel in the studio reminds me of my early days at BioWare. I can feel the magic in the air, and even though I can't get too deep into specifics of what we're working on yet, we're already generating plenty of excitement in the industry. So, Phaedron, this is Drew Caperson. Drew Caperson is an author. He has written several novels, and he wrote for JD, I believe it was for the Mass Effect and Dragon Age team.
He wrote for Knights of the Old Republic. He wrote for, I believe he helped out with Dragon Age Origins. And I know he helped write Mass Effect. Well, he was lead writer on Mass Effect 1 and just a writer on Mass Effect 2. And then Mac Walters took over.
So I bring this up because Drew, I think, kind of like when I read his quote, it's like, oh, that's exactly how I'm feeling. I'm not feeling like the excitement to continue like covering Anthem 100% for the show. So in order to like readjust and find that excitement to talk about video games, we're just going to make a change, and hopefully that'll bring back that excitement and passion that we had like back in episode 17, where we all know what happened back in episode 17. So that is the plan going forward with the podcast. So we appreciate your feedback. If you guys say, hey, it's not working for me, and you decide to leave,
that's okay.
We wish you all the best. And we are going to continue to talk about games that we enjoy, games that excite us, games that make us passionate, and that's what we'll continue to do. So, right, Mike?
What happened in episode 17?
You guys don't remember? How am I the only one that remembers what happened in episode 17?
Because you write down everything that happened in the show. That's why you remember.
Well, everyone, this has been episode 115. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging out with us. And until next time,
which will be soon, like next week, back.
I mean, the following week. We're gonna go play some Dungeons and Dragons next week. So
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have to change all this. Is it gonna be Shaper Storm? There's something on the other side.
Maybe they'll bring back Shaper Storms for 2.0.
Bring them back. They were never there.
I mean, they were there before it came out, but then they just evolved.
There's a long wait on
they weren't. They were never there.
Yeah, there's a long wait on the. There's a long wait on the.
And we'll see you all.
We'll see you all in 2021.
Hey, see you, JD. Gonna miss you, man.
When do you see him next month?
We'll see you guys.
Not next week.
I said next month.
See you, man.
Be hitting that old dusty trail.
Just got to be in the Discord like Mike is every day.
Hey, Steve, you gonna play that bumper or not, man? Like,
at MLAMP
I've been playing it the whole time. I forgot it was muted for you.
And at JD the Joke Dealer. Freelancers, it's time to get to work.
So before you exit the streams, Devon, Phaedron says you guys could have a weekly bit on your podcast where you talk about Anthem every time. And there's no need that segment will only take a couple seconds. That's kind of what we're planning on doing. So we'll touch on it if there's anything. But at the top of the month, unless there's something big that we need to cover, then we'll cover it. But it's not going to be the main focus of the show. Until 2.0 rolls around, and then we'll reassess, and then we'll go from there. Moose, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for hanking out, man.
Maybe his name is Hank. I don't know what Moose's name is. But I know
Moose Nukem.
he's over the Moose is part of the shed with Lupo and Wade. So
Yeah, we appreciate everybody watching and listening. And I'm gonna end the
We'll
stream.
see you next time. Join us next week for some D&Ds.